All right, so we will call this to order. It's 6:01. It does not look like anyone is here for general discussion. But I do have a couple things, just miscellaneous. So I was able to. I created the Google form that we talked about last time, just for feedback, from residents. And I had a flyer, I got it up in the Parks and Rec office. And this one is from upstairs, the bulletin board. I was able to have it at Willington Day as well, just for people, to get publicity out. I'm gonna have it in the Willington Wire that's going out, July 1st, and then just additional info for the committee in the Wire. As well, I'll put our next meeting date, in there when we just decide on that today. I did get some feedback from it. So just event suggestions from residents. A tour of Willington historical places, parentheses, bun factories, mills, tavern. Town talent show at the old town hall, like the old historical society fundraisers. Townwide garbage cleanup day with incentives to participate. Group hikes at all the town trails. And then another one, I homeschool and would love to do a project with other interested homeschooling families related to the town history / historical events / people, places. Maybe this could relate somehow. And it seems like that could be along the lines of, I think, looking through the binder, there was a poem contest for the 275th.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome, so that's the feedback I've gotten so far. Hopefully, when the wire goes out next week, we'll get some more. Just seeing what people have to say from that.
I see from here, they had a bus tour and a parade and sold flags. And there was a volunteer performance. I just had a volunteer.
Yes, yep, I saw this one. I figured it should be easy enough to recreate.
Yeah.
You know, even though we don't have anything scheduled as of yet, at least getting it out there and start building a database of people who are interested. I can put that together. I actually do have something. I'm just gonna run to my office quick that it looks like they did for the 275th.
Yeah, last time we met, Phil, we were kind of talking about where do we get the most bang for our buck? And, you know, at least again, it's one of these things, building a number of people into the committee and getting suggestions. The overall thought was if we could do a good number of small events that maybe we would do a couple times during the course of that year. It's like a tour of the Hill Summit. And one of the things that's come up recently, the state archaeologist is gonna lead a vampire walk in the old Hill Cemetery. Because there were several documented, I don't know what you call them. Spiritual diggings or whatever in the day about vampires that took place here in Willington. You know, that could, again, we might be able to bring in the state archaeologist to do something like that. That can be worked up not only as something outside, but it could be something that we could have a presentation at the library. And usually one of the things I recall at the 275, I went on that bus tour. Well, the number of people that wanted to go and the amount of time that was spent at each place was too small, too short a period.
Mhm.
And I think a bus tour, maybe a couple over the course of the year,
Mhm.
you know, taking into account that a lot of people are gone through the summer on vacation,
Mhm.
maybe late spring, and then fall. So we can, you know, try to connect with more citizens that would be interested in something like that.
Mhm.
Um. Again, there's something like it's not just a hill cemetery, but the hill cemetery has a good selection of carved stones up there.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, a lot of them are deteriorating
Yeah,
rapidly.
yeah.
And the society had a gentleman come in one time and talk about stone carving and the carvers. And some of the stones that we have are very rare because of the carving.
Mhm.
So that's something that we could not, you know, we could all possibly go to the cemetery, but also as the weather gets worse, maybe it's something that we could touch on again, but have it at the library with a slideshow.
Mhm.
Again, just trying to maximize the number of people that we can get involved with this.
Mhm.
Um. I mean, I know everybody loves a parade. Unfortunately, in Willington, we really haven't got a really good parade route. And I don't know if we can get more. Bad way to say it, more bang for our buck,
Mhm.
insofar as getting people to understand the history of Willington. Um. There are several button shops that we could visit. I think if we talk to the Beckers, we might be able to get into the portable sawmill down here in East Wellington.
Mhm.
All the machinery, all the belts and everything are still in that part that's closest to the road, at least last time I was in there. And we have an awful lot to offer. Mark's done an awful lot of research with the town green.
Mhm.
The buildings around that. I've been in a number of those and I've taken an awful lot of photographs, which is difficult to impose on people to go into their houses. But I've managed to get in between residents. And I think that would make for interesting viewing.
Mhm.
There's a lot of history. It's just a matter of trying to put it into a format that people can appreciate.
I think we had talked at one point, is between meetings, maybe reaching out to the homeowners and instead of taking people through, seeing if they would be willing to record a video walking through their house and then send it to us and then put everything together in some type of video. They might be more willing to do something like that rather than having, you know, people walking through their homes and
There might
intrusive
be
like that.
couple of people that would be, able to, home tour, so
Yeah.
it's worth, trying it out anyway.
Something,
And if you could put it together, you could post that online,
yeah,
so that people could do that at their own leisure.
Yeah. Jim, you might. Let's, current state of research for the Hill. That, they provide some ideas. These are probably gonna get printed up. At some point, maybe do a print and see what it costs.
Yeah.
And then make them available to, the public in general. But,
What's that called, Mark?
one is, a survey of buildings in Willington Hill, basically around the common. And then the other one is the, I guess you could call it the construction of the common over the years, how it was pieced together. And the two of them kind of go together, so. It's basically a chronology timeline of what was on the hill when, the earliest mentions according to town records. Some anecdotal information from town meetings and, vital records, that kind of stuff, it's all, fact-based rather than, historical fiction, so.
Do you know about the sidewalk that went across the green?
Hmm.
Do you know about the sidewalk that went across the green?
There wasn't a sidewalk, it was just a path.
Okay. So somebody said it was a sidewalk and because the, pastor lived on one side and he didn't want to get snow on his things when he went to get his mail, I guess.
Well, Parsonage was the
Oh, there
house,
it is. Yeah.
directly across from the Baptist church at that time.
Yeah.
So,
And during the summer, you can still see that.
Yeah.
When the grass dries out, you can still see that.
yeah, and it shows up in LiDAR images too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Joe Philippi was telling me about that one time we were on the green doing something.
then there was a road across the green also.
Couple things, I've been researching military history, veterans, so I've got about 1,300 names of, veterans from Willington. And maybe at that time we can, again, publish a list or a book or something of all those. And going back to, 1758, when we lost the first war in the French Indian War. But then the history book was written in 1983.
Oh, Demers book.
Quite a bit of stuff in here on that. Hall School did a 100th anniversary, extremely poor job. So maybe we could get an actual history of Hall School rather than 5 tables with a couple of pictures on it. At one point, there was some pictures of all the 8th grade classes and then the programs. I think there was probably 60 of them at one point when I left school. I had put that together and the lady had no idea, the principal had no idea anything about it. But I know Isabel used to set up the displays in the town on Willington Day.
Yeah.
And there were, different things on that. So there's a lot of different ways we could do it.
This is what, Tish Ignatowicz from the finance office had this from the 275th. Now, I can't remember if she said, were they sold or were they given out? I think these ones were given.
Yeah, I think they were.
I think they're going out.
The shirts were sold.
Shirts were sold and I think, was it this flag too? It's the right flag.
Yeah, that was sold. There's a form in here for buying those. Over there, there's the form for buying those.
I've been looking into some custom t-shirt stuff and it doesn't seem like they're extremely expensive. I'm still waiting to find out the breakdown of the money that we'll be getting from the cannabis tax. So I'll work with Peter on that and the board. But excuse me, The t-shirts, I've been looking at some for the summer camp that we run for the kids, and then on Amazon, I'm sure we could probably find a cheaper distributor, but it's not terrible. Something else that I've been looking at is lanyards. It seems pretty cheap. And then water bottles too, if we wanna upgrade from the cups, but water, we can get customizable water bottles that say Tricentennial Celebration. Same thing with the lanyards. The lanyards are a lot cheaper than I thought, so it might be worth it. Just to give those out as a freebie beforehand, just to try and build awareness. But I was shocked at how cheap it is. It's not as expensive as I thought, which is nice.
Might do something with, water company there, and maybe they could make a special labeling and water, to get off with that. So, the shirt I have, if you look at the back, two fire department, so they, I don't know if they co-sponsored the shirts or not, but they would be, however many years old they are. I don't know on the back of the shirt, but. So they help sponsor that.
Now, a question that I had, and I didn't see anything, I briefly looked through the packet, was UConn involved at all in the 275th? Did they?
Not that I really wasn't involved at all with that process.
I'll look a little deeper and see, they're not in town, but they're a
Yeah.
large part of, nearby.
Yeah.
And you talked about the bus tours, so the bus tour went at 10:30. Now, I don't know if that was this day of the event or not. Can't really be the day of the event, because the parade was at 11. On Saturday the 5th. And it says 10:30, so I don't know, in the bus,
The bus tour was on a separate day.
okay. And here's the list of 40 places or 50 places they went. Or 51 places they went. Talked about,
Now,
that
was,
was quite an extensive tour.
was it just a school bus or, smaller one? School bus?
Two school buses. They had two different tour times. Now, you said they were full, I don't remember the name.
Well, the one I was on really wasn't full, but the number of places that they went and the amount of time that was spent, it was no more than a drive-by.
Right, yeah, well, the 51 places. Yeah.
So I think if we,
What kind of places were generally?
well, it's like the old Renier place down on Moose Meadow Road. It's like, the old hip roof, house over on, Mason. I keep getting Mason and on the way down to, where the trails are, the dirt road there, that Peter lives on. They drove past, South Willington. It. It turned out to be like a chicken soup from Campbell's as opposed to a chicken soup that grandma used to make.
Yeah.
Um,
Was there,
I think the number of places were cut down. And in a lot of instances, no, you don't want people to get out of the bus.
yeah,
But I think, slowing down and realizing that there's people on this side of the bus and there's people on this side of the bus.
yeah,
And I think, more of a rendition of what the house represents, when it was built, some of the inhabitants over the years. I just,
was there was there somebody on the bus giving descriptions?
Yeah.
And then was,
with the 51 places listed, I'm sure they have a little description of each one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And a lot of that description was out of Willington Pass,
The glimpse,
the glimpse.
so probably 50% of this is wrong anyway.
Well, I mean, considering that, you're right,
Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
you know, looking at this, you could put together a self-guided tour. Which would probably be more interest to a lot of people, be able to drive around and know what they're actually looking at. Rather than being driven in a bus and,
Yeah,
you know, zoom past it.
the big stumbling block there is, like I say, there's people on both sides of the bus. You're trying to see too many places in a short period of time.
Mhm.
And it sort of doesn't really,
But it's kind of like, you know, you've got the common, you could do a walking tour.
we could spend an hour and a half just on the green.
Yeah,
And, you know, why get into a bus to look at the Turner House?
Right,
You know, that's kind of,
right.
yeah, all right,
And same thing with the, you know, the whole factory. You know, there's a half an hour tour down there. And going through stuff down there. So between from the school to the factory to the manor house, that's now the whatever house there. There's a lot of stuff right there.
and the whole factory probably is gonna have its own. Events, probably related because they've got, the event space. And
We got the museum
exhibition
there.
space, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a destination, you know, you can go there and spend a lot of time there.
Yeah.
So. You know, from the 275th and doing a bus tour, I think there's a lot more.
I mean, at one point, Tyler gave a tour of South Wilmington. And it took us 2.5 hours walking around South Wilmington. And see, one of the big things that people wonder why, when they designated South Wilmington, most of the buildings there as historic structures. We just spent some time up north this past week, and we stopped at Queechee Gorge. Well, until 1954, and that date sort of rings when the same time period that Hall stopped manufacturing. I think his was 56. Well, if you go to Queechee Gorge now, and you stay in the state park across the street, which we did. You can walk across the street and you can walk down to the dam and everything, but then you read what happened. They closed in 54. And by the 60s, they tore the mill down and they tore every structure down that was associated with the 500 people that worked in that mill. We still have a mill village intact.
Mhm.
And I don't think people appreciate that.
No.
As well as the historians do. That's why the state was so excited about, you know, getting that as a historic district. So there's a lot to tell about that, but again, how do you package that so people can understand that most of them got torn down? Daleville got torn down.
Mhm.
So even in town,
Eagleville and another one torn down.
villages just disappeared.
Well, you know, all the mill work went south.
Right.
The town's basically dried up, I mean, the people left.
Yep. So I mean, I think there's a possibility there as well. Maybe we can wrangle Tyler into, maybe doing a walking tour of, South Wellington again.
And who's Tyler?
Tyler, this is last name.
Miller,
No, okay, he's one of the halls.
Okay.
He's the now generation with the Hall field.
I'm sure somebody in the building has his contact information.
Well, I see him every day.
Oh, that works too.
Um, There's, I mean, you know, we wanted to start talking to the historical society. I mean. It wasn't just the Hall and Mill. The Halls had an ice business.
Hmm.
And we have pictures of the ice house. And with rail cars next to it, it makes the rail cars look like they're about this big.
No, yeah, from the book, they shipped it to New York and Boston. They had to shoot them up right over 32 down to the railroad tracks.
So there's, you know, there's just, there's a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
I don't know how much information is from down from Forestville. Mark, that's kind of, is a little bit in Demers' book, but
Yeah, it's not one of those kind of disappeared places.
yeah,
You know, why was it called Forestville in the first place? Because it wasn't, you didn't have tenement housing down there.
right,
All you had was, no complex. And then, I don't know if they did weaving there. I think they did do weaving at some point,
okay,
but. You know, it's, you know, it's still one of many. And then you had Lily Bridge Mills, you had South Willington. Before all, you know, all this is a blip on the radar in terms of the time frame.
right,
You had the Fenton at, Route 74. You know, the Weston Mills, that was really extensive.
yeah,
It was probably far more extensive than anything Hall ever did, but it's all gone.
well, it's like the Eldridge Mills also,
Oh,
that was
yeah,
a heck of a complex. And
and
that's,
that was on both sides of the Warren Road.
right, and that's a national, site.
Yeah.
Archaeological site. So. You know, how do you boil this down? And unfortunately, we haven't got any photographs of that complex. You know,
Yeah, I got some. But they don't, you know, unless you know what you're looking at,
right,
you know, and that's what, Dick Simons would run into. You know, you can get photographs, you could, you know, do site plans and whatever, but. If you're there, you can't necessarily see. The extent of what the site was, it's like Forestville. It's a pretty extensive site, and there's a lot of stonework,
yeah,
you know, and those buildings were pretty big.
you know,
But you have to understand kind of what you're looking at to understand the context of, you know, this operation, because it wasn't just, carding mills and woolen mill and all the stuff related to that, but there were sawmills, there was a forge, there was, you know, half a dozen operations, all different operations.
right,
And, you know, a lot of that kind of stuff was seasonal, you know, which is another, you know, another thing to try and get a handle on, because people, you look at the mill, Paul's mill as it is today, and think, you know, it's a year-round operation, but most of those mill families, the mill owners, you know, they operated on, you know, shoestring sometimes, you know, and it was over a long period of time.
right,
And they were all interrelated, they all married into each other's families, so. That's another element of it, that's hard to explain, that, you know, you had the mill owners up and then the mill operators who were not necessarily the same people,
yeah.
and then the mill workers. So,
Yeah, well, I think what we're confronted with here is how can we package this so that people get a sense of what was going on.
maybe, along the lines of walking tours,
Right.
because you can do printed materials for self-guided tours, and you can use those materials for guided tour also. So, it can serve a dual purpose.
Yeah,
Even taking the, Sturbridge Village route, which is, you let people wander around, but you have days when you might have somebody there that can, more fully explain,
right.
which is a combination, guided tour, self-tour, so.
Well, it's the same thing, having people into the tavern. We give them a tour of the tavern. Unless there's someone there to interpret what they're looking at.
Yeah.
It's just an object. But if there's somebody there that can explain the object, all of a sudden, it means more. Well, one site that we could go to for a mill is on Roaring Brook.
Yeah, because it's on state property,
Right. And
and
we
you've
do,
got the photograph.
and now we have the photograph of it.
I think something that could help people appreciate then and now is going out and taking pictures of the site now and then putting it next to the site back then, just to give people a perspective of today versus.
If you can do it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be tough to find the pictures if we don't have them now back then, or find the right angle compared to.
Like the Lily Bridge Mills photo. It's a great photo from a distance, it's from the house, it's like up on the hill overlooking the house, and you can see off into the distance. And you can see the mill buildings. You can't take the same photo today because it's all wooden,
Yeah,
so, it's a kind of mixed bag.
Well, you do the best, you have to do the best you can.
Yeah.
And,
Although, in that case, when the foundations for those buildings are really impressive.
well, they are,
So.
yeah.
You can take the photo and then, look at the remains of it.
yeah.
It will give you an idea of the scale and extent. But those are the kinds of things that you can put together you don't necessarily have to do a single day. You could have different events over a period of time.
So have we picked a date and then we work backwards from the date? So the date of the event, whatever the event's gonna be called. And then we work back and then we work the tours in there, and we work the displays and whatever else in there.
Well, we've got 3 years, right?
Yeah,
So at this point, we've just been kind of thinking about what are the possibilities? And I think, once we get within a year and a half of it, then I think timeline would be,
Well, I'm just thinking as, like, the first meeting was in July, and this event was in October. Because again, people are around in October and they weren't around in July. So if we're saying we're gonna do an event in October, and we back up the tours to September, we start, planning the events and then, displays and so on.
You have a kind of timeline that you could follow from what is the original creation of the town. We should say the incorporation. You have the proprietors meeting, which was June 20th and 21st. And then shortly following that was the first town meeting. And then I believe there was another town meeting in December. Might have been one in between also. So there's a stretch of time where essentially the Tricentennial is of it's the anniversary of the first town meeting. Because that was when the town, or the legal inhabitants of the town, were given town powers. And it's usually called incorporation, but it's basically, from that point on, the town was governing itself rather than the General Assembly governing. So you have a, kind of late or mid-summer to early winter. And you could probably schedule events for that would have, that you'd be able to relate back to 300 years ago.
Not to say that we shouldn't have maybe some tours earlier, like in late spring, once the
Yes, well,
snow is gone, and we can start to build up for.
Smaller things,
Yeah.
drum up interest.
well, we missed the range of dates that we could have followed,
Yeah.
2017 for some of the early settlement to 2020, 2024. I mean, right around now, there was a milling operation in South Willington, and that was Katie's sawmill. And that was the first recorded mill in town. But you can build events around those kinds of timelines too, I suppose.
Mhm.
So you talked about funding the cannabis funds, I'm sure the Hall Foundation, do a donation. Then you could, solicit donations, sponsorships for either different events or different, merchandise. As I say, the fire department has theirs on the back of this, I don't know if they paid for it or, pretty sure they must have, done that. A booklet to sell with, information. It could be a booklet on the mills, it could be a booklet on the, number of different booklets and stuff like that. So, we have, merchandise and whatever you want to call it.
I do have a number of other monographs that are done and some other ones that are in progress, so just, by that point in time.
Not sure what you're saying.
I have a number of other monographs
Oh, okay, good, yeah.
that are already done. And a few that are in progress, so by that point in time. Hopefully there's gonna be a lot of reading material available for anybody that's interested. And most of this I'm working through. Putting it in the town clerk's office, so it's available to anybody that wants to have access to it for now. Or seeing what it would cost to do a print one for somebody, so.
Cause I know the, cemetery book was in there, I think the mail book's in there, I think there's 2 or 3 other pamphlets in there, and the town clerk's office.
Yeah. Yeah, she sells those on behalf of the Historical Society.
Right.
Something else that we could incorporate is like the current events that we have going on, like the tree lighting, working some of those things into just the celebration, the December before 2027, a lot of promotion there, getting people excited, and then at the end of 27, maybe play it off, play into a larger celebration. Maybe some things from the time period, at the 2027 tree lighting. And maybe some other events pop up, like the hikes that we're doing, the self-guided tours. And then incorporating, at least from Parks and Rec, the Halls Pond, maybe a history of the pond. I have the bulletin board over there. I can put some information up there. Um,
Rebuild the steamships and give tours on, yeah.
But even just like a before and after picture, maybe looking out over the pond and, you know, let people who go to the pond now see what it was like then.
Mhm.
Um, And we do have, you know, River Road too, just that space available, the park over there.
Well, there's Willington Day, so. That would still be. At around Memorial Day time. So that would be in 2027 would be Willington Day, 2026 would be the tree lighting.
Mm,
And, promote it. They are putting that. You have the one with your grade, I think one of the events we have.
No, flea market.
Flea market, yeah.
The, I know the PTA does their Halloween,
Or their trunk or treat.
trunk or treat. Halloween time at the park. You know, the Veterans Day ceremony.
That's 2027, so this year we're gonna be in Ashford. Next year we're gonna be in Mansfield. So let's see, so 2024 is Ashford, 25 is Mansfield. And 26 is Willington. And December we'll be back in Ashford.
6.
I don't know, I think like spaghetti sellers or, but again, this is. I know that like the senior center has a spaghetti supper and basically it's sold out. Firehouse does the same thing, it's sold out. There's no place that we could have enough people, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah.
The concert series, that will be a good. Just so I can, you know, I get on the mic, I can announce things there.
Yeah.
We have our booklet too that Parks and Rec makes that we hand out to everybody, so we can throw in a flyer. I could even, we're working on it now, I can throw this in there in a page and just contact us for more information, or if you have ideas.
Throw those in the Willington Day programs, you know, or the Willington Day programs.
Hopefully at that point, the historical society will be ADA compliant, hopefully. We could always sponsor something down there. I don't know if it's hog roast or something. Um, and know some guys that do hog roasts. It's not a little hog, it's full size hog. I mean, it's something, I'm sure that would bring people out.
Yeah.
Something with the schools. I know, I was saying the poem contest, or I think it was what does Willington mean to you? I think it was a creative writing,
Oh, yeah,
so something similar to that.
maybe that's something that you could touch base with Phil and have him talk to, I don't know, some of the teachers, some of the English teachers or some of the other teachers, just to find out what they might envision, to engage the kids.
I tried to get the history teacher involved in, eighth grade history teacher involved in doing some of the research on veterans. Got nowhere, didn't even get feedback from, had better luck with E.O. Smith, the teacher E.O. Smith.
And we stopped giving a history award because there was just no interest in, on half of the teachers said, so.
That usually comes down to one person.
Well, it
One
is,
person.
now it is, yeah, that's right. You know, if you get somebody that's, you know, really involved, and that's what they're really interested in, it drives that program forward, if not, well.
It's like the band, there was no band in the parade. And I wrote a letter to the principal.
On my side, just, maybe like the history of recreation in town going back. You know, I know that the Parks and Rec department is still pretty fairly recent, but just in terms of, you know, what sports, did they play sports at the mill in their free time?
Yeah,
Did they?
Have you
Stuff
seen
like
the history book, the 1983 history book, what's it called, the
The industrialization of,
Willington?
I don't,
Oh, you gotta get a hold of that book, cause it has a lot in there, so it had two bands from like 1910 or something like that, and the GAR, which was the forerunner of like the VFW, American Legion.
Was this the Bohemian book?
what's that?
Is this the Bohemian book?
No, it's, Ted Demers book.
Yeah. It has a
So,
lot of
I
history.
mean, we have an awful lot of photographs from baseball teams, basketball teams, from, you know, the turn of the century up into the 20s, probably. So, I mean, small towns sponsored teams. Didn't have to have a rec department.
yeah,
It's just that everybody wanted to interact with other communities, and that's what they did.
The 9 school districts that were around and initially before all school was built. The window of the first bus is at, the back window is at, I think of the bus company. But there's a picture of it in the book and in one of the other books, and it's at, Post Road Stages. They have it on their wall in their office.
So is that right?
Back window of the original school bus.
I didn't know that. I used to know one of the drivers that drove for Post Road too.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get a view of the bus and the bus driver in our calendar this fall.
Okay. Oh, one of the postcards is a picture of the bus.
Right.
And what I'm saying is, you know, I walked in there one time because we used to always rent the buses for field trips for school. And there it is. Oh, okay. I have a picture of that.
Um.
now I was thinking for future meetings, I, I don't know about you guys, but 3 months, it kind of felt a little long, so how about, what do we think about 2 months?
Every two,
Yeah,
Yeah.
bi-monthly.
Yeah.
The bi-monthly,
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's good. I think one of the things we should all be thinking about is, like what Phil said, some kind of a timeline to, how we wanna progress with this.
Well, yeah, if we had a timeline, then you can start filling slots.
Yeah, Yeah.
building over there.
right,
Getting the sponsorships, getting the merchandise, to put it out there, getting the notices out, stuff like that.
yeah,
And our next meeting is the 9th, the foundation, Veterans Memorial Foundation meeting.
What I can do is I can put out, just with flyers and then posts on the website. I'm working with Peter to get a boards and committee, webpage, one for us. So we can post updates on there. And then just putting out a call. I mean, I'm sure that you guys have tracked down most people, photographs and whatnot, but just a call for photographs, information. And see if there's somebody has something that they haven't shown anybody ever, see if maybe we can get that, but
there's a lot out there.
yeah.
One of the things that we're hoping by putting out the calendar, that when people see that, they'll say, oh, well, my aunt has the family photographs and a bunch of, we might get some access to photographs that we haven't had before.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Froelich did a great job going around town and convincing with everybody, when they put together that, book that he and Trish did. About the history of Willington. So it's just a matter of, they're out there, and unfortunately, a lot of those photographs are now not in Connecticut anymore, they're scattered around. And it's surprising when I started talking to a few people and we're looking for photographs for our calendar. And it's like, oh, well, gee, yeah, I have a photograph of where we are when we first bought the place and it doesn't look anything like it does now, and so. It's out there, and then they'll all of a sudden they'll say, oh, well, I talked to so and so, his mother has. And those are the photographs that end up at the transfer station. There's instant relatives, unfortunately. Too many times I've found instant relatives. So,
I think the list of events that we already put on is helpful, and then, like, the tree lighting, Willington Day Flea Market, and building from there, like you were saying, the events leading up to late spring, and then early fall for the tours.
mhm. Yeah,
And once you have dates that you can work with, you can fill stuff in between them. You can add dates, so they at least give you benchmarks.
I could put together a list of just, historical, this is when this would be, based on last year, based on this year, a tentative date, for Willington Day. I mean, we know when that's gonna be with the holiday. We have a good idea when the tree lighting is going to be, trunk or treat. Concerts and all that, so I'll put that together all in one document and I can send that out to everybody.
you can,
And we say the concert series, you mean the ones that are down at the River Road?
Yeah,
Okay, because there's fall has always a
yeah.
December concert, holiday concert.
And then I'll start, between now and the next meeting, our summer camp starts July 8th. And I'm, at least for my Parks and Rec stuff, I'm gonna send the kids home with information on the programs that we do, but I can put in an insert, not this, but something to the effect of, hey, we're gearing up for the Tricentennial, do you have anything that, might relate, do you wanna be involved, I can send those out to the
Yeah,
parents.
I think in front
The
of you,
volunteers.
something like that.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And then I can put together, a database of people who potentially interested, people who wanna be involved. I can start putting that together as well. I'll come up with some new flyers as well, just. General information, our next meeting, I'll get that out. Just with dates out and around town.
So when do you need the Willington water stuff, by tomorrow or next day?
So we're looking to get it out July 1st.
Right, I mean, when do you need, 'cause I need to get an article for the foundation meeting and some.
By Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. So looking into August. We think later in the month, earlier in the month. Earlier, and then. So the concerts in the park ends. Later in August, so I wouldn't be able to do any Wednesdays. It's Tuesday, work for,
Tuesdays will work. Um,
I wanna say. 13th,
Yes, I'm doing this point.
Tuesday the 13th.
Okay.
Now, do we wanna stick with 6, or do you think 7 would be more doable for
6 is fine.
6 works?
that works for me.
And after that, it'll be October something.
October. Tuesday. Second week, the 8th, Tuesday.
Yeah, we can do the 8th.
Yeah.
6. And then December 10th.
We can do the 10th.
And then I figured from that one, we can. After that, it'll be 2025, we can ramp it up a bit if we feel like we're at that point. I think the bi-monthly though, I think that's a lot better than the 3-month in between.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
Now, we're looking to expand the committee, we're looking for additional people, or just this for now?
I think this for now, I'll talk with Peter and see what he's envisioning. But we're missing Joanne and we're missing Jeff tonight.
Joan too.
Yeah, that's what, Joan.
Joan.
I always gotta get that mixed up.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Kruzak. Yep. I know that I spoke with Melissa McKinnon at Willington Day, and she was looking to be interested, not necessarily joining the committee, but at least being involved. And I'm sure that there's a lot of other people who don't necessarily want to be involved in the committee, but would like to be involved somehow.
Oh, and I think that's why it's important to try to get as much input from what people are interested in seeing
Or
happen.
What groups maybe?
Right,
Mhm.
because, again, I think what we kind of focused on are something small that could be run even a couple times, a repeat. So more people will be able to partake of that, as opposed to focusing on a parade or,
one big,
or such.
Yeah.
You know, I'd just like to have more input from the community,
Mhm.
so people aren't at the end saying, well, what the hell were you guys thinking?
yeah. So I'll keep on. I'll maybe try and drop off some paper. I've been trying to do a mix of paper stuff and then online stuff to get both crowds, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
online people and not online.
Yeah.
I think definitely though, including some stuff in not just this edition of the Wire, but I can even work on having a specific section for us in there.
Yeah.
Instead of just throwing it, with the Parks and Rec or the town clerk stuff, whatever it may be, historical society.
It may be, it'd be worthwhile just wandering around talking to people at some of the concerts,
Yeah.
just to, a lot of times you'll see people at the concerts that you don't see anywhere else. Just to kind of get,
You got the senior center, bugle, which
Mhm.
you can put on something in there because,
Hmm.
some of them might don't get involved.
Well, the only place to get everybody is the transfer station.
yeah, maybe we
Yeah,
can put a banner up at the transfer station.
I do have, you guys will see it when you leave, but like the sandwich board. I can put, coming up on our next meeting, just say Tricentennial Committee meeting,
Mhm.
yada, 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 we wanna hear from you. I can get that up there.
Yeah,
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 I put,
the weekend before we're gonna meet,
yeah,
yeah,
I did that for youth basketball this past year and you could tell I had it out there and then the next week when I come in, I had emails from people seeing it, so
Yeah, yeah.
it does work.
I gotta put ours up next week.
yeah, the transfer station is a catch-all for everybody in town.
It's the only place you'll see everybody.
Like it or not, that's where you take your trash.
And then hopefully I can speak to Jeff, because I know he does the signs. So get just the planted ground signs, have them at the park, have them at the pond, transfer station.
Yeah.
I don't have the sandwich board. I had Jeff make up things because it wanted to say Willington, Bachelor's Memorial Foundation. Well, that took up 4 lines and then we gave you 3 lines with the rest of it. So had permanent signs made up and for that, and it works really well.
Yeah,
Because you don't have that many letters and I couldn't find enough W's, couldn't find enough A's.
I'm sure as we get a little closer, maybe working with, Mike D'Amato and the Economic Development Commission. Should reach out to them and see if some of the businesses would be interested,
right,
joining with us. Yeah, so what I'll do and what I'll send everybody is put together that list of forecasted events that the town does, that we know for sure would be happening. And then maybe the next meeting, we could start to fill in what we think we could do on those days, and then build a tentative schedule of events
sure.
from that.
And backtrack to the other events that we want to have.
And then fill in from there. And I'll create some more flyers, I'll send them out to you guys, just so if you have a place that, would be good to put it up, you could put it there, I'll get it up at the park, the pond here.
But keep in mind, targeted mailer
Mm.
also. That's usually the one vehicle in town that you can get a good response from, and if somebody's interested and they get a postcard or something. Pay attention to it.
I think I had looked up. I wanna say 20 cents a mailer right now is what it's, if I remember right from the USPS website, I think it was bulk. Yeah, yeah, 20 cents.
Yeah, because you can it would be every household.
Yeah,
Then when the school's in session, you got the backpack.
Yep.
The digital backpack.
Yeah, I'll definitely, I'll have something in my summer camp parents, I'll have something for them, for sure.
Maybe we need to ask the question, would you like to know about Willington's history?
Have you got any more of those books that you can lend him on?
They're out of print, I might be able to dig up one that's kind of moldy, but
Cause I bought one of the last ones.
yeah.
Well, I can bring it over and lend it over, I'll do that. Okay, I'll bring the book over.
You can find them online,
Yeah,
but they're, what are they selling for, Mark, $50 or thereabouts? Somewhere between 40 and $50.
But as a good start on that, that was the other, what was the other one, the Frolics put together? What was that one we were talking about?
No, that's, I don't even know what the name of it is, but it's just Willington, Connecticut, and it's got all kinds of photos in it.
Okay,
We had that, they had that upstairs.
Okay.
town clerk.
Down there, yeah.
I'll try to remember to drop, actually, my wife's coming tomorrow for food share and,
No photos
Right, right.
tomorrow.
on a food share. Because of the holiday, last week, they were supposed to have it, and they didn't. So it might be this week, I'm not sure, because,
Christine came home today and says no food share.
okay, because last week it was supposed to be, but the holiday, they didn't have it.
Yeah.
So she was thinking it was gonna be this week. But she's coming for bread drive anyway.
So I'm out of the office tomorrow and Thursday. Taking some time off before camp, and so Monday, look out for an email when I'm able to get back in and type some stuff up. And hopefully, within the next couple of weeks, we'll have that section of the website up and running for us. And I can start inputting information.
You know, is this yours or
That's Mark's.
Mark's? Just a copy of that or?
No, they're different. One's are common, one's buildings around town.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, let me know when they're available, I'll purchase a couple. That on hand. Fine, I know the Boy Scouts are over 100 years old. About 19, I don't know. 1817, 1817.
I'm sure they'd be willing to, I know that they help out with the tree lighting. So I'm sure one of these events, I'm sure they'd be happy to come out and do some type of presentation.
Well, both fire departments are, always working as well, as they say, they're on the back of the shirt, so. Again, I don't know if anybody knows, what the story is in that. Well, on the back of the shirt is the fire departments. Well, the two fire departments, one was 20 years old, one's 40.
One's 50 and one's 60.
60, so. So they, they were on the back of the shirts that were sold, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have, with the calendar, we have one of those photographs when we only had one fire department in town, and they were housed at the Fish and Game Club. So that's one of the photos we have in the calendar. So, fire department in town goes back further than that,
Just that, yeah.
but
So that would make them 75 and 85 for the fire departments.
We've got the dates for the next meetings. I'll put together an event schedule. Then keep up book with the promotion and advertising. I know there's a couple Facebook pages that are, you know, Willington friends and neighbors. I can put some stuff in there. I think they have a couple thousand members at least, so it'll get good to get some eyes on what we're doing. And I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that we're looking for their input rather than saying this is what it's gonna be. More, we wanna hear from you. What do you wanna see?
And would you be willing to do it?
Yes,
Yeah.
The question, the thing to keep in mind is, you can ask what people want to do. But the trick is to get the people that will actually do it. Rather than just say, yeah, it'd be nice if we could see you guys doing something, but.
I found it harder now than in the past to find volunteers for stuff.
It changes over the years.
Yeah.
It just depends on the groups. and Whoever's coming up through the system.
I'll look into a tour of South Willington. I'll see if I can maybe reach out to the History Museum at UConn and see if I could possibly leverage the past let's see, the archaeologist, state archaeologist, who would talk about the grave situation.
Yeah, yep.
I have a question, the scout hall, and it was the old town hall, in rough shape. Who needs to do something in that?
That's the big discussion that they had all this budget season about having somebody that looks after all the buildings and follows through with what's necessary.
That's been going on for 20 years.
Well, I know. And it's one of those things that. So. Boy Scout Hall or the town hall, and you notice that and the Ecclesiastical Society was built the same year. And it was built. So the story goes, tell me if I'm wrong, Mark. That it was to show that the Ecclesiastical Society and the town government was one, each of their own. They were no longer
They're
together.
distinct. That had changed by years and years before that.
Well,
I think the biggest problem was they got tired of holding the town meetings in the church. And that, I think that was some of the stories about, the basement wasn't heated or something like that, but.
Yeah.
It's really just,
well, that's why they had the town meetings in the winter at the tavern upstairs,
Yeah.
ballroom,
so,
until 1840. When it stopped being quote unquote a tavern, became a residence or
yeah,
whatever. Because of the indifference or the differences of opinions between the ecclesiastical society and the town government. So. It's, if only we had a lot of people's memoirs that they would have written down and that it would have survived, it would that certainly make for interesting reading.
you can read a lot of that stuff in the town meetings. I mean, if you've been to town meetings, you know what goes on, so if you read those old records, it's like, could get an idea of, what was happening, who was in favor of what.
Yeah.
I mean, Daniel Fuller had to go to the General Assembly to get paid,
That's true.
so. It's just,
Well, they bickered about the step stone
on
on
the
the,
new.
on the
meeting.
south side of the first meeting house for how many years? So there's something in the water in Willington.
That was the second meeting.
For the second meeting, so it's like. It's interesting and curious, all rolled into one to read through that.
Right, they couldn't sell the first meeting house. So they finally, after half dozen town meetings, decided to take it apart and see if they could sell the parts.
Right.
Chances are, there's some buildings on the green around the common that have parts of the old first meeting house in it. So,
Good possibility,
one of those barns maybe.
yeah.
Did you get anything from the building on stores there on Yukon?
No, they shut me right down.
So my father-in-law house was on where the firehouse was. And when his father built the house in 1932, they were tearing down the original beach building.
Oh,
And he
okay.
got a beam from there. It was a chestnut beam. It was 12 by 16. That was the beam in the house. Because my father-in-law was only, I don't know, 5'8". He had the duct to get under it. When they tore down his house, he contacted UConn and he said, this is an original beam from the original first building on UConn campus. Do you want it? No. Chopped it all up.
Yeah.
And a beach beam, 12 by 16. Or chestnut beam, I'm sorry. No, they don't exist anymore.
Yeah. All right.
October,
August,
We're on 13 August.
August 13th, 6 p.m.
Yep.
Hopefully, we'll have a good turnout, hopefully some non-committee participants will come out too, and they can talk to them, see what they think.
Yeah,
All right, so I'll keep an eye out on your emails, I'll be sending some stuff over the next couple weeks and
Good.
put something together for sure.
see if there's a booklet in there with different sponsorships and, other events that they might have had.
I'll try and clean that up a little bit too.
Again, something like that, so we could, a lot of stuff in there.
It's a good resource for sure, yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm more than willing to donate this t-shirt to have that stuff there. So, I just dug it out because I remember if I had it somewhere.
Alright, we are going to end this.